Hello, trading has closed on the 15th of October 2024. We always do our disclaimer first, go over our calls and make our predictions. This was the first day in a week, I guess, that the internet didn't go out on me. It might take me a few days to get back into the swing of things, but let's see what we can come up with. Just a reminder, this I'm going to get rid of. Just remember, my calls can be wrong, and any trade you make should be made at your own risk. Look for the pattern with the early low, which is this. Tomorrow should also have the early low. We had a target, 58.05. I thought it might not print because we had all these other ones that didn't print. We were in a cluster, but it did print, so not going to worry about that. We have a new target from today's pattern, 58.29.30. I'm not so certain that's going to print either, because this could be a top, and if it is a top, MEJT will almost always leave a failed target at a change in trend, but we don't know that for sure yet, so we'll say it might not work. We had a target of 58.04.32. We came within 16 cents at the low with support there. That's really close enough. There is a tolerance, and 16 cents is within the tolerance, but I'll tell you, even though it's now optional and doesn't have to print, it almost always will, and almost always you won't have to wait very long. So I suspect we're going to hit this number for real before too long, and of course we still have these lower targets you want to see printed sometime. And this is just a reminder of what we said. Now we stopped at the trend line. We said if the rally were going to continue, we should gap over the line. That didn't happen. And yesterday, high was never topped, and that's within the 3-day window for Carolan's time frame for a top. Doesn't mean it has to be a top, but if that holds, it's within his time frame. This is a trend line we talked about, and we actually undercut the other trend line too. I still want to see us undercut these lows before getting too excited about the downside. MEJT said all these squiggles weren't the real thing, gives us a target 58.29.30. We came awfully close to saying this whole drop was going to retrace and come back up to this line. If you use futures, you would get that conclusion, but in cash, you just missed it, and my system is dependent upon cash. You don't get conflicts between futures and cash very often. I'll just use the cash for now, but there isn't enough of a track record to say if I should ignore the cash and go with futures. Since the system is a cash-based system, I'm just going to say we don't have to retrace this line, even though I think we're going to go much higher before this whole thing's over. Well, I'm not happy with any of my counts, to be perfectly honest, and I'm not certain that's the right count. We do have a generational low back here about a year ago. It's at least possible to count 5 waves up without breaking any rules. We've gone over this upper trend line. Normally we don't stay there very long. I'd be happier if we came down to here, but nothing requires it. Let's take a look at this last leg up. Well, once again, I'm not thrilled with any of these counts, but if that's one, there's a good fib relationship at 3, and there's a good fib relationship at 5. It's a great fit. So if we do stop here, I can explain it. Well, Wednesday's pattern has the early low, which doesn't tell us where we open. Today's normally bullish pattern wasn't bullish at all. Unless we invalidate this action by gapping and promptly overtaking the high of day, we should see a lower price fairly soon. Doesn't require down to be the next move, doesn't require a negative close. It just says if if today's high holds, we're going to trade lower pretty soon. There is a higher MEJT target unless we gap down smartly. The rules call for it to print. But the system nearly always leaves a failed target or major changes in trend. This is at least a candidate for a major change in trend, since the high of the move was within Carolan's time window and we stopped right at that dotted trend line. Now if, and that's capitalized, if bears get follow through, this could be the start of the significant decline I've been expecting. I think any decline here is a correction, a strong bull market that has much higher to go. But if those lows that we showed are undercut, it could go significantly lower than we are now. We're at least in the time frame compatible with the top. We have sentiment compatible with the top. We have trend lines and wave counts compatible with the top. We have lower targets. We don't have to get follow-through, but the odds favor it. And if we do get follow-through, we have lower targets, and even lower than this one. But again, I don't care how much we drop. I can't count this as the end of the rally. And no matter how much we drop, I think we're going to recover, most likely by year's end. That doesn't stop dropping first. And if that 5-wave up pattern I showed is the right pattern, if that's right, it could be a sizable correction. But until we get more follow-through, it's hard to risk a large amount of money on that. There's a pattern with the really low, and that's today's call.